Johnson. Welcome to Digital Works TV. Our guest is Ben Smith. He is a meteorologist for WHNT News 19 television in Huntsville, and he does the morning meteorology, and we are former morning show colleagues. And I thought, Ben, that talking about weather and the analytical systems way you folks approach what you do for a living will resonate with our engineers and scientists when they think about what they do, which is where they use systems thinking all the time. So am I correct that if you forecast weather, systems thinking is part of what you do? You're thinking about systems.
You're absolutely correct, Steve. You know, on the large scale, especially when it comes to things around the United States and globally, you know, it's pretty easy. I mean, there are rules that we can go by, and it's set in stone. There are no big changes. It gets really tricky when it gets down to the smaller microclimates. Man, it is really, really tough when you think things like terrain, mountains, vegetation, water, oceans, coastlines, things like that. You could have a lot of variability just within a few miles when you have things like that.
Let's pause a moment and talk about why we're here. Today's episode is brought to you by Digital Works. As digital engineering continues to evolve, professionals and leaders are being called to advance their skills in systems modeling and digital twins. We are introducing Digital Works Pro, an open enrollment program designed to meet those needs. With our self-paced courses, you can build practical in-demand systems modeling skills on your schedule. If you prefer a classroom setting, your organization can book group training in our 4-week-long classes. Check us out at www.digitalworks.org, shown at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so if I look at a weather radar and I see this big thing out west, and I will often tell my wife, that's coming here. I mean, it generally is in some way or shape. Stuff that's happening in California that system is going to end up being a different kind of system, but still a system when it gets here.
That is correct. How is that system going to behave by the time it gets to North Alabama? What's in its way? What have we learned? What's happening? What is happening today could have a big deal. What's going to be happening tomorrow? Did we get rain the day before?
Yeah.
Will that cool the atmosphere off? That's a variable. If it's super hot, the atmosphere is unstable. That system may hold together. It could fall apart. It could hold together. It could sustain itself. It just kind of depends on, you know, what's going on that day, the day before. The systems that we look at as far as computer model data, we look at those. How do they handle those? All these computer models we talk about, they all have certain biases.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. So one thing about it, if you're building a helicopter engine, that's a system, and that's a system that somebody watching this might be working on the helicopter. You know, the variables are pretty. You know, it's pretty concrete. What you're doing, you're doing it over and over again. Every engine for every Apache helicopter is generally, I'm thinking, the same. But with weather, there are variables that change even as it's happening. So your systems are constantly changing. Am I saying that?
That's
right?
correct. We get computer model data that, especially when we get to the short term, they come out every hour. And computer models, it's a massive computer math problem, and it's being inputted into the computer, and then it spits something out. So there are models that handle things better than others. There are models that strengthen systems, like the European is a massive, it's got a strength bias.
Let me ask you that. Part of me says, why aren't the models all the same? Why aren't they the same? Is it a question of who designed?
That's correct.
The model?
And one of our old colleagues, Brandon Chambers, brilliant mind, he actually made up his own computer model himself, and it's a bunch of calculations, a bunch of statistics, and I don't know how it's done. I mean, if I put the equation up, I couldn't read it. It's a mile long, but you put it into the computer and then it spits it out. So the NAM, the GFS, some of them have a cold bias. There's always like a 5 or 6 degree temperature swing, and like, we're not going to do that. That model's too cold. But the HER, which is like the rapid refresh, that is a very good short-term model. But the problem is it only goes out like 36 hours to 48 hours. You can't even use it. Like today is Tuesday. I can't even use that model. I can only use it through Thursday. This weekend, can't use the HER. I have to use the GFS or the Euro and at least get an idea of what's going to happen, and then wait for the big boys to get a little bit closer, and then we can kind of fine tune the forecast.
Okay, so let me ask you this: do weather folks talk among themselves? Man, it bugs me when I look at a weather system and I decide what it's going to do, and then it doesn't do anything I thought it was going to do, and that happens sometimes. How upset do you get, or irritated is it that we just can't be exact like we want to be?
It happens, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's always that probability. We've had so many instances, and you've seen it, Steve. I've had so many. We had a situation a couple winters ago where I had 4 inches at my house in near Newmarket. And downtown Huntsville didn't get a flake of snow. We had that much of a discrepancy, even this past system. The videos on my Facebook page, the rain had come all the way up. I had like 6-7 inches in my house. At the airport had like 2.
Well, and one of the things I know from the North Alabama area is the terrain does have a lot to do. With temperatures, but also like the terrain appears to kind of steer tornadic systems a little bit. Because there's some areas that have been hit more than once, the same area. And so that's a variable that do you think about the terrain we're living in? I mean, there was a former Channel 19 weatherman named H.T. Bagley who had lived here 50 years. And he was very good at going against the national predictions because he kind of figured out how the systems acted once they got here. The longer you've been here, do you begin to figure it out? I mean, begin to see, you know what, that's not going to do that because it's going to run into Lookout Mountain, and it's going to fall apart.
Absolutely, Steve. I mean, when you've been here long enough, you do see patterns. Now, we have to be really careful because of liability issues and stuff, and I have a great respect for the Storm Prediction Center. I have a great respect for the National Weather Service. We're not going to go, 100% against the grain, but we will hedge. We do a lot of hedging because we want to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room and saying, hey, if we're going 2 to 4, hey, guess what? There might be
you've
some
already
areas.
gone 2 to 4. You've already wiggled a little bit.
Yeah.
But is that exasperating, though? I mean, and people get mad. People say, well, you can't trust you guys. You said it was going to do this, and it does that. But, well, let me ask this a different way. Just since you've been in it, has the science improved for accuracy that helps you do your job better? Just since you've been a meteorologist?
Oh, easily. No doubt about it. When we have more computer models to look at, more, just with severe weather. Yeah. Look at all the back in the 1980s, we had the 88D radar. It's a little C-band, whatever it is. I mean, it was awful. The resolution was terrible. You couldn't see anything. And then now we've upgraded the dual pole. So now we've got 2 beams coming out. So now we can see not only raindrops, but we can see debris. We can see things that are jagged, that are not spherical. So we can pick up on things like that now, opposed to, 10 years ago, we didn't have anything like that. The dual pole radar there at UAH was one of the first in the nation. And now most of the National Weather Service radars are dual pole.
Okay, so do you expect, if you stay in this another 10 and 20 years, that the science will allow you to understand the systems better than you do now? That the prediction error the percentage of prediction error will fall?
I believe so. If we've come this far in, say, in the last 20 years, because that radar came out in 1988. And now, we're almost talking 40 years. And I would think so. But Steve, no matter how long we've been in this business, there's always something that's an anomaly, that's an outlier. And it doesn't even matter. I've been in businesses. I just passed my 30th year in television. and there's always something that happens that I've never seen before. And I was like, oh, I cannot believe it. And you think you've seen it all, and here's something else.
So when you do a forecast, look at the weather systems, look at all the variables, the terrain, the wind direction. What is the most important thing that you look at that you say that's the thing we need to watch? Is it different every time?
It is. It kind of depends on what is coming in. Like for these summer thunderstorms, very, very difficult. It's obviously scattered. It'll rain in one spot. It won't rain in the other. When we say scattered, we really mean scattered. You can hear the thunder. It doesn't rain a drop. When it comes to snow, one thing I would tell you this, Steve, when it does snow, it seems like Lookout Mountain, northeast Alabama, and the Cumberland Plateau up in Swanee, they always get snow every single time. Doesn't matter. I mean, I can always say, hey, Franklin County, Tennessee. That's always my fail-safe.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about this. You said snow, and I've always heard, and you said that snow is the hardest thing to predict. Can you describe the variables in a snow that make you get snow or freezing rain? And it's in the temperature levels. Am I right? It's in the various strata as you go up. Would you describe what makes snow come from that cloud down to the ground? What has to be there?
Well, the column has to be frozen from the top all the way
so
to
from
the
the top of the cloud to the ground.
Now there can be some melting, 8,000-9,000 feet as the snowflake is falling.
Okay, when you say melting, you mean hitting a layer of warmer air.
But not much though.
Okay.
And people think, these snow ratios we talk about, people don't think about that. So we talk about what's the liquid equivalent. The standard is 10-1. People always say, 10 inches of snow equals 1 inch of rainfall. That's not always the case either. So in an extremely dry climate, it's going to be a lot higher. It's going to be, it may be 20 inches of snow equal with that powdery snow.
Yeah.
You see that you can't make a snowball out of it because it's just so powdery. That's dry snow. But we in the South have that wet snow, so we're going to have lower snow ratios. I mean, we're going to get those big, thick snowflakes and stuff like that. And infrastructure is really big. That's why I talk about what's going on the day before. Do you have one of them big cold air masses that sit over North Alabama and then the moisture overrides it out of the Gulf? That means the snow is going to stick and it's going to stay.
Okay, so you have a weather system in place, and moisture, warmer, wetter air goes over the top of it.
That's correct.
That precipitates, goes through that cold air column and makes the snow.
It's called overrunning. That's exactly what's going on because the cold air is so dense, it's going to sink to the bottom. The warm air is going to override it, and that's still a lifting process. People don't realize that is instability. It is warmer up top. So technically, it is warmer up top with the warm, but there's still lift. So the air is still going to be saturated. It's still going to be condensed, and then you can get precipitation out of that.
And once again, snow is the hardest thing because you've got to have so many variables in place.
Yeah, sleet and freezing rain can be tough too because then you got to look at what we call the sounding, those balloons, those weather they put up in there. So when they put those soundings up, that's valuable information. We can look at that. So it's called a skew T log P. So you're looking at temperature and moisture from the surface up to like 25,000 feet. And those lines are extremely important. As that line moves up, you want to look. I'm getting really technical here.
That's okay.
But you look at the we call the adiabats, the dry adiabat, the moist adiabat. Those two, as they're moving up, is there?
So define adiabat for me.
Okay, that's just the change in temperature or moisture with height.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking for a warm nose in there because you're following the zero line. As long as it stays to the left of the zero, everything above is freezing, and that snowflake will survive.
Yeah.
But if there's a warm nose in there, depending on how thick it is, that snowflake could melt and turn into a raindrop. And then if it's freezing closer to the ground, it would refreeze, and then we get sleet or freezing rain.
Yeah.
So that that little warm nose, we've seen it before where we were back 1993, the blizzard, all that snow we got in North Alabama. In Virginia, way up north, we had a warm nose, and we got 4 inches of sleet at like 18 degrees, Steve, because we had that warm nose. And but Alabama got all that snow.
Yeah. Okay, so right now and for the foreseeable future, we're going to be dealing with summer thunderstorms, and I would think if you're a weather guy in Alabama, you see more of that. You see anything thunderstorms, rain systems coming in with some thunderstorms. That's almost our average weather, isn't it?
It is. It's because of the higher temperature and the moisture content. When you have dew points right now in the 70s, that high number, it doesn't take a whole lot to produce a pop-up shower. And as we know, it could rain down the street, but then you drive 5-6 miles and it's dry.
And then with those thunderstorms, and when you have a thunderstorm, so you have some ingredients that cause the thunderstorms. What are the couple of ingredients? We're going to move from this to what causes tornadoes, but what in a weather system, that's carrying rain and maybe a thunderstorm, what's going to cause the thunderstorm?
Well, first you have to have moisture. You have to have that. We've been out in the desert where it's 100 degrees where it doesn't rain because the humidity is at 5%.
Yeah.
So you have to have moisture, and you have to have a warmer temperature. You have to have a lifting mechanism.
Yeah.
You have to have something to push
the air up.
Exactly. Okay. And that could be anything. And people forget that you get one thunderstorm one day, we'll get these outflow boundaries. And those boundaries are still hanging around even overnight.
And the outflow boundary, if you're outside and it's raining somewhere and you've got a nice cool breeze, that's the outflow, isn't it?
That's correct. And that's a mini little cold front. Yeah. So your temperature may drop off. It may drop 20 degrees. And that boundary, that's a boundary which is going to push up against the warm air again that hadn't been touched yet. And that's going to lift that air, and that could produce another shower out ahead of that line. So that's another pop-up shower or thunderstorm because of that boundary right there. It's like a little mini cold front.
Okay, so I know I've said this. Why can't it just rain? Why do we always have to have thunderstorms and tornado warnings? Let me ask you that. Why can't it just rain? Why do we end up? What are the ingredients that come together? And I mean, I've heard you say some of these, but when you look at a weather system, you say, "Oh man, that one's going to be trouble." What are the things you look for that you think that is going to cause us problems?
It's the shear.
And define shear.
Okay, that's the change in wind direction with height. So at the surface, you may have a southerly wind as the air is being lifted, but above the surface, a lot of the winds are coming out of the west. So you are getting what we call we call it storm relative helicity.
So it's making the storm turn, right?
Yeah, and that's why we don't have a lot of tornadoes in the summertime, because there's no shear. You got all the moisture, you got all the warm air, but there's no shear. There's no frontal boundaries coming down from the north because it's warm. You got the ridge in the southeast that strengthens and moves north, and that's what heats us up in the summertime.
Well, I notice in right now and anytime there will be more severe weather up around the Canadian border, because they haven't gotten hot yet.
That's correct.
We get hot, and so the very hot and very cold are blessings, because those kind of stop severe weather. The cold front can't get here,
right,
with enough strength to cause a tornado.
Right. The upper ridge, which is a global pattern that happens in the summertime, it's moving north. It's strengthening. We get our hotter temperatures while everything else gets pushed up to the north. Just like you said, I think there was a slight risk in New England for severe thunderstorms. It's like a level 2.
Because it's still cool enough there that the cold, not cool enough's the wrong word. It's not so hot that the cold front can come down, can't get there with strength. Am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, so what is the one thing you wish that every weather watcher, every person who's looking at you, a scientist, try to figure this out, what is the one thing you wish they knew and I'm talking about anybody, about what you do and what you have to do, what's the one thing you wish they just understood that?
It's extremely difficult to predict the future. It is. People just think we get. I've heard every joke in the world. We get paid to be wrong, and
Or you get full salary and you're wrong half the time.
yeah, exactly. But anything in life, Steve, you predict. It's hard to
Yeah.
predict. I mean, we talk about the NCAA basketball tournament. We talk about the NBA playoff. The Spurs lost both games at home.
Okay, by the time this runs, Ben, that will be in the past.
Okay, all right. Well, and then the Knicks lost at home.
Yeah.
So everybody, okay. But anyway, but you kind of get my idea that it's harder than you think. That's what I would tell everybody, and I would invite folks to sit down with a meteorologist, sit down with the Storm Prediction Center, and go through a day's analysis of what we're trying to figure out. And then you can kind of have a better understanding on how difficult it is to predict.
And this is using the science of meteorology and / climatology to figure out what weather systems that are 2,000 miles away are going to do by the time they get here. Because not only are you thinking about the system, but you have to think about how that system is going to change. And that's your job is nothing but looking at variables, is it?
It's correct. Yeah, that's correct, Steve. And you have to think too, the storm could slow down. It could speed up. We're watching this one. We'll let you know, but we're thinking that we have the GFS, Steve, goes out like 2 weeks. 2 weeks, man. You're talking a long time.
But everybody, including you, would agree that you shouldn't think about what the weather's going to do in 2 weeks because Lord knows what it's going to do.
Exactly, but
When
day 12,
yeah.
There's snow in North Alabama at day 12, and then the internet is just blowing up.
You idiots.
And then the next day, the next computer model run, it's gone.
So what is the one what is the one piece of science you hope gets better soon, that you think if we just get this, we'll be better at our jobs?
I wish we had like live radar within 30 seconds to a minute, just constant, just where you're right there the entire time. I mean, no matter where you're at, you've got the latest and greatest within seconds. But I think we're a long way away from that. That would be the best thing, because now the lead time in severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, that's the thing we want to do. We want to save people.
What is the lead time now?
Okay, lead time is like anywhere between 4 to 6 minutes.
Okay, but like in the '89 tornado that hit South Huntsville, it was on the ground, and I think the lead time was about 45 seconds to a minute. I mean, it was unexpected. The one that landed on the old golf course or the old airport in Huntsville. I mean, the lead time, 6 minutes doesn't seem like much, but it's better than it was 40 years ago.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there are several events. If you even go back even further, the '74 event, the Galveston hurricane.
Yeah.
1900. There are people laying on the beach.
Yeah, because they didn't know it was a hurricane till it was there.
Mm-hmm. And typically, when they say the calm before the storm, Steve, that's a real thing, because what happens a lot of times, the air is compressed, it's sinking around the outer edges of a hurricane. So the day before a hurricane, it is sunny, it is clear, there is not a cloud in the sky, it's really warm. And then next thing you know, you've got hurricane force winds within 24 hours.
All right, one last question. I know that you look at this stuff. Is AI going to make a difference with what you do? AI, and I'm not talking about predicting the weather necessarily, but AI, the people we've talked to say it's an information gathering system. It helps us get information. If AI does that, can help you get the information and interpret it better, do you think that does the industry believe that's going to happen?
I would think so. I would say if they could have at least some test runs, and hey, let's go ahead and dump it in and let's see what it spits out, just like anything else. If it's, say, like a computer model, let's put in the coordinates of Huntsville, Alabama. Let's put in a 7-day forecast and let's give it to AI and let's see what the next 7-day numbers are and the percentages of rainfall, and let's compare it to the models we're using today and just see what happens. It can't hurt.
Okay. Well, the great thing about what you do, you're nearly all digital. I mean, it's all digital, isn't it? There are no pieces of paper where you're drawing out weather. It's digital.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, I'm looking at a computer screen now. I'm not.
Well, that's the same with systems engineering. It's a digital industry. Can you imagine doing this like they did 40 years ago, where you putting little magnets on a map or drawing out your weather?
Well, I saw Hidden Figures. I mean, that was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Just those ladies out there.
Yeah.
Just incredible. I'm glad we don't have to worry about. I'm a broadcast meteorologist. I don't get my hands too dirty. I leave that to the Storm Prediction Center and those guys. Read some of those discussions, everybody out at home.
I do.
And man, I'm like, dude, what are they talking about? I'm like, I need to get my book back out.
Well, anyway, so I think you would like the viewer to cut you some slack, all right?
Please,
please. The science isn't perfect, but you guys are refining your knowledge so you can look at these weather systems and figure out what they're going to do better. You're doing that every day.
We're seriously practicing weather, Steve. There are some concrete things, but there are still a lot of things we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, dentistry, doctors are the same. They're practicing medicine. Lawyers, same thing.
Practicing. They would say, wait a minute, we're not practicing. This is a real life.
So it's just like, you get a great lawyer, cook chefs, same thing. You can, okay, I have 3 different chicken parmesans here, 3 different chefs.
So if you think about it, in some ways, weather is the most human science.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because there's errors sometimes, but you didn't know. Anyway, All right, Ben Smith, thank you for being with us.
I enjoyed that, Steve. That was fun. I don't get to do that very often.
We'll do it again. We'll talk about weather. Anyway, thank you for being with us, and don't forget, Ben Smith's forecast is pretty darn good, and it works.